FIF Florida has developed the Black History Tool Kit, and we are encouraging people to use that as the basis and principal element of teaching Black history in our children.
My name is Ric Stevenson. I'm professor of African American Studies at the University of Florida. So, who was the founder of Black History Month? Praise Jesus. Freedom is not just about buying a new home. Freedom was about being able to think critically. Any discussion of African education must begin in Egypt. Right? We can't even think about education if we don't think about Egypt. I mean, listen to me. Do you know that architects still can't figure out how they built those pyramids? That's the genius of African people. When you look at Timbuktu, a significant portion of the manuscripts were written by women. Black churches, with the support of the Freedmen's Aid Society, the United Methodist Church, was responsible for establishing 70 schools in the South, in the Southeast, for blacks between 1866 and 1882. 70 schools were established by churches. Why? Because at that time, those were the only institutions we held, we could control. Right? There's a book called Slave Religion by Albert Rabbitow, and he talks about the church being an invisible institution. Right? It was invisible because we would go down to the hush harbors and pray. There's a book called Roll, Jordan, Roll by Eugene Genovese. And he talks about how black people would go down to the river and dig these holes so they could climb in head first and pray because they wanted to pray out loud. They couldn't do it in the presence of the white people, so they would pray inside these holes. Or they would take cloths and wet them at night and hang them up in a circle and stand in between the cloths and pray because the cloths would absorb the sound. So we understood the importance of prayer and education and how the church now becomes the foundation for how we teach our kids. And how many of you are revolutionary? You would be surprised how many kids don't even know what revolutionary is. Suppose the textbook says the Civil War was about states' rights. I would argue the Civil War was about slavery. Well, that's the how are you going to prove that? Well, if you go to the secession letters of Florida, the secession letter of North Carolina, Mississippi, South Carolina, they all say we want to keep them Negroes because we need some slaves. We can't make money without them. It's in the letter. And guess what? You can go down to your library and read that document. How many of you know who Fred Hampton was?
Black Panther.
Black Panther, right? Right? He's the one who really started the Rainbow Coalition. It wasn't Jesse Jackson. And what did he say? He said, we don't care what color you are if you're about revolution. The church is about change. It's about revolution. And how do you change people? You educate them. Right? Because education has got to be more than just about information. Archivists now are digitizing data. When I went to South Africa, when my wife and I went to South Africa, I had to do I did research on these Dutch documents in Pretoria. So I had to go to the archivist, and I had to take a translator with me and tell them what I wanted, and they read the documents. Once COVID occurred, scholars couldn't travel. So what happened? The archivists began digitizing the data. So now you can go online and get it. You can get all this information in libraries all around the world right to your computer. So why are we not using it? Because we don't know about it. Right? Right? So I asked them this question. Who's one of the most important persons to vote to elect in office in your city?
My city?
Yes. Or your county?
One person.
City council?
The council person,
Yeah, that's
who
what I
else?
was
Who else? School board, mayor, commissioner, the DA. Because the district attorney is the one who determines who gets indicted. We have to pay attention to the district attorney's behavior in voting, because if that person is quote, barked by the police officers, we're in trouble. That's why we have to introduce our kids to voting, not only in the general, but in the other elections and down ballot voting. We have to teach them that, because that's a video on TikTok, IG. You know what TikTok is?
Yeah.
Okay. There are these social platforms that are distractions. How many of you gave speeches when you were a kid in church? The Easter speech and the Christmas speech and right? That's how we learn public speaking. They didn't teach us that in school. They weren't concerned about that. We learned politics. We learned how to date. We learned manners, right? A young kid would not walk up to a door and see a more mature person and not open that door for them. We learned our manners at church. What happened? How did we get to a place where not only did we not talk about the social aspect, but about our history?